Hello, it is Tuesday. That means it is Thinking Question Tuesday. So you will have an assignment today. It's just a quick little Padlet. So look at the slides. We're going to discuss two famous women artists since it's Women's History Month, and these ladies are pretty accomplished. Typically, the famous artists throughout history are almost dominated by men. So I just wanted us to take a second to recognize a couple of ladies who, managed to break that glass ceiling, much like our new vice president broke some glass ceilings, becoming the first woman vice president. These were women that were some of the first to become super famous, even while they were alive, in a predominantly male profession. So the first one is Mary Cassatt. She was Impressionist, post-Impressionist painter. So she was painting around the same time as Van Gogh. And then she continued to paint after his death. So like Starry Night, she's painting around the same time. They also both lived in France. So she might have known Vincent van Gogh. She might have met him if they would have traveled in similar circles. So let's look at that and her artwork. And she painted mostly women and children. That was almost all she painted. Very, very rare to see paintings that she did of anything else. All of her subjects are ladies and women and children. And then the other artist that I want us to just have a look at would be Georgia O'Keeffe. Georgia O'Keeffe was a modernist. So when we look at movements of art, like we've talked about in the past when we looked at Renaissance and Impressionism, a few weeks back, the movements of art are kind of like a timeline for art. So we had Impressionism, that's where Monet and Degas and some of those guys were. Then there's Post-Impressionism, which is like Vincent van Gogh, Paul Cézanne, Mary Cassatt, those guys. Then we go into modernism, and that leads us all the way into about the 1980s. And then the current movement of art that we are in today is postmodernism. Post means after. So Georgia O'Keeffe was in the modernist movement. She was almost 100 years old when she died. So she lived pretty much the whole century of modernism. She painted mostly flowers, or like she had some Southwest elements because she lived in Texas, Arizona, New Mexico area, and did quite a bit of work across the Southwest United States. So you will see elements. She did a lot of like skulls, like animal skulls, and then flowers, a lot of flowers. And they're huge and they're kind of abstract, which speaks to modernism and what modernism is with art. So look at these two. And then I want you to name just one woman in history. It does not have to be in art, but one woman in history that you admire, and tell me why. Perhaps it is the current Vice President Kamala Harris. Maybe it is my brain has completely gone, you guys. Oh my goodness, I'm so ready for spring break. Who else is ready for spring break? Woo woo! Okay. Maybe it's Frida Kahlo. Maybe it is Eleanor Roosevelt. She was a former first lady. Maybe it is. So there's so many. That's the problem. Is like there's so many women in history that I admire. It's very difficult for me to try to start listing them because then they all start flooding my brain, all these different names and faces and things. But take a look. I know you've probably studied some of them. So think about women in history and just tell me someone that you admire and why. Could even be one of the two ladies that you just read about or that we just talked about. Could be like Mary Cassatt or Georgia O'Keeffe if that's who you decide. But it's just in the Padlet. Put the person and why. really quick. It's a super easy 100, guys. If nothing else, you should be doing every Tuesday's Padlet, because you at least get, like, that builds your grade up to do that. So have a great day. This is the longest video all week, I promise, okay?